Good morning, everybody. This is Lynn Dupuis with your wake up call. Good morning. It is Friday. Friday. I'm live on Instagram and on YouTube this morning. I thought, you know what? Some people are really enjoying seeing it on the Instagram and on the Instagram. This is my age speaking, or this is my francophone speaking. So I don't know. But we're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. Good morning. If you're here, say hello. And today we're going to talk about important things. We're going to talk about wins because it's Friday. We're going to talk about things that are wonderful. And one of the most wonderful things that happened to me this week is that I held a baby. I held a real live baby. He's like 2 months old, and I held him and I loved it. And that's a big win, along with all of the fun stuff that I did this week. Wonderful musical tour with my husband and his band. I did some amazing client work. I did some amazing things online and with some clients. We're developing our framework. A lot of fun things happening right now, and I'm super excited about it. Today, we're on Instagram and on YouTube. So if you're just chiming in, you're going to see me looking in this way and this way. It's a little complex, but I'm here for it. Good morning. Good morning. If you are here watching, good morning. We're going to talk about. So yesterday, I'm just going to look at this. So yesterday, I mentioned that I take a lot of questions in DMs. So a lot of people, because I talk about governance a lot and because I'm so passionate about it, people are coming to me on a regular basis with questions or concerns, or like, I'm on a board too. How do I solve this problem? So they're concerned about their boards, which is normal. It's 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 normal to feel this concern when you are really engaged and implicated in this process. So today I'm going to go through two of these situations that I've been in, so that you can, so that like I can show you what I did, what I how I coached them, and how I came to the solutions with them, and help you maybe navigate this situation with some experience and solutions that you can apply. So the two items that I'm going to talk about today are what to do when a board member is out of line. All right. What to do when a board member is out of line. That's a question that I got. Yeah. And then the other one was what we have a strategic plan, but we don't know how to follow it. And what do we do with it? So, there are two questions that are quite common that have come up recently, and I wanted to address those and show you how I take that question, dissect it, and work with the person quickly so that they can identify some solutions and then figure out an action plan to put that in place. So, for the first question, what do I do when a board member is out of line? So, two things to note. This person, first of all, that was asking me this question is an experienced board chair who's had this person on their board who is out of line and is not following necessarily the good governance practices. So this person is sitting at the board, and the board is relatively new. All right. So those are two things that are super important to take into consideration in this coaching call. And those are questions that I asked. So, what's the end result that we want from this coaching experience? Well, the board member who will know their roles and responsibilities. The person who is acting out of line, we want them to be in line with what we're doing with good governance practices. So, what do we do? So, first, I want you to define, first of all, what it means to be out of line. What does that mean? Does it mean that they're not coming to board meetings? Does it mean that they're misrepresenting the organization? Does it mean that they're speaking out of turn within the board meetings? There are a lot of things that can, that's my first go to. Is like, what does that mean for you that this person is not in line with the good governance practices that you're expecting? Expectations are a big thing. So those are super important, ideas to figure out first. All right. And then you're going to identify the policies that could be in place if you don't have them, that could support the decision making process when somebody is out of line. All right. So do you have bylaws? First and foremost, do you have bylaws that are dictating your code of conduct as a board, your governance model, what your steps are to good governance practices, and what you said you were going to do in the first place. Now, you're also going to check if you have policies in place. So, do you have the policies? This is what I asked this person. I said, do you have a bylaw that is going to state what is good practice? And do you have the policies in place? Example, absenteeism, roles and responsibilities. Do you have policies in place that are going to help you communicate within the board, roles and responsibilities, those kinds of things? So these are the four steps these are the four fixes, all right, that I told this person. First, you're going to ensure that those documents are in place. Do you have bylaws? Do you have policies? And you're going to check if those things are up to date. All right. You're going to, first of all, assess the situation. Do we have these policies? Do we know what good code of conduct is? Do we know what being in line, good governance is? First of all, what we said we would do. Then the next thing that you're going to do is review these policies with the board. You're going to want to review and read them and make sure that your board members are in they know what these policies are about, and they can then self-reflect. First of all, if they're not changing their behavior, at least they will be aware that there is a policy or a procedure in place for good governance, good communication, absenteeism, um, roles and responsibilities within the board. So first, you're going to check if you have those documents. You're going to check and review them with the board so that everybody is aware of these things, right? You're going to train your board. Third, you're going to train them. You're going to say, we're going to review these regularly because we need to make sure that we're following them as a board, and these are important documents. And then four, you're going to enact these things, or you're going to put them into effect. You're gonna act on these policies. So if there is somebody who is too absent from meetings, affecting quorum, affecting your board meetings, affecting decision making, you're going to say, okay, you've missed 3 meetings, you're going to have to leave, or we're going to have to ask you to please uh, let someone else take your place. So, or if they're speaking out of turn, the board chair's role is to, put that into effect. So if you are having a regular review of roles and responsibilities, you can pinpoint those things. You can point to those elements within your policies and procedures. If that person is speaking out of term, if that person is not behaving properly within your governance structure or your model. So you'll have these documents when things go badly. So this is what I hear all the time when it comes to this too, is that, well, we don't need policies and procedures. Everybody's doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And there's never any chaos, and there's never any conflict, and there's never any, bad thing happening within our board. But when it does, you want to have those things so that um you are protected, but also you have something to turn to if something's not going well. We see this in succession planning, we see this in financial planning. Oh, what did we say that we were supposed to be doing? Go back to your fundamental documents, your policies, your bylaws. So these, um, so let's reverse engineer this. All right. So you have somebody who's not doing it. So if this person is speaking out of line, is there a communication policy in place? Have you reviewed it regularly with your board? Do they know their place within the organization, their roles and responsibilities? If so, then you can act on it and tell them why their behavior is not okay. And if you have one, you need to review it and make sure everybody's on board with it. And if you don't have one, well, then you should get one. And then you should instill that within the organization, within your governance practices. Um, let's say if they are missing too many meetings, if there's a policy that outlines this, you can point to it. You can create one if you don't have it, and ensure that everybody knows what this policy is about, so that if they're missing too many meetings and it's affecting your board, they will be the first to be identifying that. Hot tip, I'm going to give you a hot tip right now. If you have a, a absenteeism policy, all right, and it states that you can't miss more than 3 meetings or else you're going to have to leave the board, have a document at the beginning of your meetings that state everybody's participation. So everybody was at, like, you state all the meetings, you state your name, Lynn. Lynn was at this meeting, she wasn't at this meeting, she was at this meeting, she was at that meeting. And at the end of the year, if they've missed more than 3, then you can take action. But what this does at a board meeting is enable everybody to take their own responsibility. Like, they can look at that calendar and say, "Oh gosh, I've already missed 2 meetings. I better not miss a third one because, I will have to leave the board." So it kind of puts the onus on the individual sitting there at the board and enables them to take that responsibility on, because they're going to see it on the calendar that you've established. And at every meeting, you keep that up to date, and they can be responsible for their own, presence at the meeting. So that's a little hot tip for you. That's a tool and a technique that is super important. All right. The next example that I talked about, what the next coaching call or the next coaching DM that I got was, we have a strategic plan, but we don't follow it. So things to note here: this is an older organization. They have a high functioning board. They don't have a problem necessarily with the people around the table. They have regular education. So I was like, okay, well, everybody seems to be on track with their education and their training, and they have a strategic plan. So what's missing? What's missing is the implementation and the monitoring of that strategic plan. So my first question will always be, do you have board training? All right. So do you know what a strategic plan is? Does your board have common understanding? Are there dates and expectations attached to that strategic plan? So you can have a strategic plan, but is it like solely based on the mission, the vision, the areas of focus? Or and by that I mean, like, is it a good plug for your organization? Like, yes, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and these are the areas of focus, but then there's nothing following up. All right. Does your board review that regularly, the areas of focus, but also the objectives? And do they establish a timeline? That plan is not just for show. This is really for making sure that you are achieving your results strategically. So, does your board review that strategic plan regularly? Do you bring it back up in meetings? Do you, as a board, delegate this plan to the CEO? And does this person bring back an implementation plan to you to validate it? So those are all things and processes that, if you're not doing those, or if you're not implementing those steps, you're going to miss out on your strategic plan. So if this is something you've seen before, you're feeling this, here are four things that you can do um, to make sure that your board is enacting properly on the strategic plan that you have established, because you don't want that strategic plan sitting on a shelf or sitting on a nice billboard, but you're not enacting, and you don't know if you're doing the things that it states in the strategic plan. So as a board member, I am really curious, like, how are we achieving this? And if I don't get that information, I kind of left feeling unsatisfied, because I'm like, okay, well, we spent all this money on a strategic plan, and that was 2 years ago, and I have no idea where we're at. That's a lot of the common problems that I'm hearing. So if this is something that you've seen, here are 4 things you can do for that. All right. Review your strategic plan. Discuss this at the board. This is our strategic plan. We said we were going to do this. How are we going to do it? So, 2, identify the objectives and indicators of success. How are you going to achieve that? All right. This is how we're going to achieve the results. All right. Now what? So you've established what they are. You're going to delegate it. You're going to make sure that somebody's putting this in place. How do you know it's being put in place? That person, the CEO, your coordinator, whatever it is, they're going to make an implementation plan, and they're going to show it to you. And you're going to feel like you are reassured that something is happening with this strategic plan. All right. The other thing is that you're going to want to review it regularly. These reports come back to you on a regular basis saying, yes, we're doing this. No, we're not doing this. This is why we're doing it. This is why we're not doing it. And so you're going to want to make sure that when you're sitting at the board and you have a strategic plan, that you're aware at least that it's being implemented. You're aware that something is happening and that you're getting results on these objectives and these indicators, and you know and you feel satisfied that this is in place. Now, these things here that I'm mentioning, they're not necessarily going to mean, you know, that you're satisfied with the results of the organization. It means that you're satisfied with your job as a board member. You're satisfied with the work that you're doing and you feel engaged and you feel like you're making a difference. Or you feel like you can have an impact to course correct what's happening at the strategic planning level. So it's not necessarily whether you're achieving it or not within the set framework that you've established. It's whether this here, I really emphasize this because your board is going to feel much more engaged if they feel that they're having an impact, if they feel like they're making a difference within the organization. And if the things that they're saying that they're doing are really coming to fruition. So there you go. I think that those two uh, coaching calls or examples of how we kind of dissect and uh I guess prescribe solutions. We treat it like a clinical problem and we look at it with certain steps within the framework, and we can identify where we implement solutions to make you feel like you're making a difference and to make the board feel engaged and to achieve the results and the objectives that you set out. So those are two things. I hope that you are not struggling with your board, but if you are, you know where to come and you know where to reach me if you need some support. Now, in the description of this YouTube, or if you're in Instagram, you will go to the link in my bio, or here you go in the link in the bio. You're going to find some free tools. You're going to find my website. You're going to find things that we've shared throughout the year, and coming soon is going to be the new calendar for October. I've reset the calendar, and you're going to have a new calendar for October, and we are going to put that out like today, I believe. I need to figure that out, but we're going to be sending it to you if you are registered on our newsletter, if you are registered to any of the tools. If we have your email, you're going to get this in your email. But if not, go into the link and you'll be able to find everything that you need to know what we're doing this October. So I've done that work, set out the October sessions, and we're going to be talking about so many wonderful things. I'm really looking forward to that. Let me just give you a sample of what we're going to be talking about, because I have it here in front of me. I'm going to open that for you. And not in front of you, but we're going to be talking about mistakes to avoid in governance. We're going to be talking about why strategic planning is not the end all be all. Oh, so important. So important. It's not the end all be all. There's a lot of other things within governance practice that you should be paying attention to, and you should be making sure that are happening, not just the strategic planning, and not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You shouldn't be, like when we think of strategic planning, we're like, oh yeah, we'll spend like X amount of dollars on getting a great strategic plan, but the rest of your governance practice isn't great, and you're not monitoring it. You're not sure on how to execute that. I can't wait to talk about that part. We're going to talk about policies and why you need them. And we're also going to talk about critical reasons why you need a succession plan. So we saw that yesterday. Somebody talked about in a podcast. I'm going to be talking about that with you. So those are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about next month. So get the calendar and we'll discuss that. All right. So have a good day. Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. And I hope if you don't have any questions, because I don't see any on the chat right now, but I will see you on Monday morning. Have a great weekend. This is your wake up call, and I'm Linda P.